Healthcare Sunday on 104.7 KJUL, sponsored by True Care Treatment Centers. Now, your host, Warren Zysman.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Healthcare Sunday on KJUL, the Jewel of the Valley, 104.7 FM. My name is Warren Zysman. I'm your host. We're sponsored by True Care Treatment Centers. Their hotline, if you or a loved one has a mental health or substance abuse issue and need assistance, you can reach them 24/7 at 1-833-203-2848. That's 1-833-203-2848. We're really honored today to have our guest, Senator Pat Spearman. Dr. Spearman resides in North Las Vegas, Nevada. She holds several accredited degrees, a Bachelor of Science in Political Science from Norfolk State University in Norfolk, Virginia, a Master's of Divinity from the Seminary of Southwest, and a Doctor of Business Administration from Walden University. Dr. Pat is an ordained minister, former pastor, and serves on the Global Social Justice Ministries team of the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries. She is a retired lieutenant colonel for the U.S. Army, former part-time lecturer at the University of Louisville, and a Nevada state senator representing Senate District 1. Dr. Pat is the co-majority whip, chair of the State Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor, vice chair of Health and Human Services, and a member of the Growth and Infrastructure Committee. She has served as the chair of the Committee on Health and Human Services, Legislative Operations and Elections, vice chair of Government Affairs, member of Revenue and Economic Development, and Transportation Committees in the Nevada State Legislature. She also serves as the chair of the West Trends Board, member of Health and Human Services Committee, and a member of the Executive Board for Western Region for the Council of State Governments. She is also a member of the Energy Task Force and Natural Resources and Infrastructure Committee for the National Conference of State Legislatures. Her doctoral study was using sustainable development as a competitive strategy, provided her the opportunity to gain professional and academic expertise in global energy policies. Dr. Pat has sponsored legislation expanding renewable energy development, energy efficiency, promoting sustainability as part of a comprehensive economic and job development policies, and environmental protections. Dr. Pat is also an active member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. She enjoys travel, learning about different cultures, and listening to and playing music and spending time with her family and friends. We welcome you to the show, Senator.
Thank
you so much for having the time to join us today.
Thank you. You didn't have to read all that.
Hey, one of the things when we were talking a little bit about the show today, and you were going through your really rich background, I think it's really important that folks know that we have a public servant like you and the depth of your experience and commitment to our community and to social justice. And so I wanted to do you justice by going through it, but I appreciate your humility, and I think that's one of the wonderful ways that you provide great leadership to our great state.
Thank you.
So I wanted to maybe just talk a little bit about what brought you into public service. When did you know that it was something you wanted to do? And, what was really the motivating factors in people in your life?
I think a lot of it goes back to my family. I was raised, my mom gave me my spirituality, the backbone of my spirituality. My dad, my business sense. But everyone in my family, the generations preceding me, were always involved in trying to make this world better. Looking around, and my grandmother used to say, if you see something that's broken, it's probably because you need to either fix it or help someone fix it. And so as I moved through life and saw different things that were, quote, broken or nearly broken, I just made a determination, let me try to help fix it. And it really didn't matter, and it still doesn't, who gets the credit. We just need to get the job done. It's rather ironic because my senior year in college, I ran for Chief Justice of our college Supreme Court at Norfolk State, and won. And we had 3 or 4 other people that were elected as well, that were associate justices, and never did I think that I would be in elected office. But as pathways opened, I did pursue. While I was stationed in Texas, I had an opportunity to run for office for the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District, and won that race. There were 7 people in the race, and when I won, the closest person to me, I had beat them 2-1, and served on the school board. My colleagues on the school board elected me president halfway into my first year, so I served the remainder of my term as the board president. I liked that because I was at a point where I could really make a difference in the policies that were affecting not just our children's lives, our students' lives, but if you look at the trajectory of how they use that education, it's very important to give them a broad and strong foundation. Coming here to Nevada after I retired, I thought about getting into politics, but I was going to wait and finish my doctoral degree first, and the opportunity opened up in 2012 to run for Senate District 1 seat, and I did. I've enjoyed serving the people of Nevada. It is a great honor and a privilege, I think, to serve the people in my district. Here's a little known fact. During the recession of 2007, 8, 9, and however long it went, I don't think we finally pulled out of it until like maybe 12. But there were only two people on my block, myself and another homeowner, that were there out of 14 homes on my block that were there in 2005 and that were still there in 2013. Every other home had either been foreclosed or there was a short sale. Senate District 1 led the state in foreclosures and short sales at the same time that Nevada was leading the country in foreclosures and short sales. So you could really look at that and say this was the epicenter, if you will, of the whole housing implosion. That means something because the people of my district are hardworking people. They're not lazy, they're not irresponsible, but they're hardworking people. And they bought homes because they had jobs that they counted on staying and continuing. And when the recession happened, those jobs went away. So it is an honor and a privilege for me to serve these hardworking people who are just good people and the families. And I have tried to do everything since I've been elected, everything in my power to try to make their lives better. And it's not just Senate District 1, but the lives of all Nevadans. I enjoy public service. I believe that that's one of the things that the price that you pay, I think, for living on the planet. I just enjoy it.
Well, one of the things that when I talk to people and I ask about Senator Spearman, they say that she is the person that fights for vulnerable populations, who stands up for what's right. And I think that falls right in line with what you were just talking about in terms of the work you've done to advocate for your community, the high foreclosures, et cetera. In terms of some of these vulnerable populations, I know you've passed a lot of legislation and worked with your colleagues on a lot of different bills in your time in office. What are some of the highlights of those accomplishments where you've really been able to stand up for the little guy or gal and make things that were wrong right?
Well, one of the things that I was able to accomplish, and this was my very first bill, and that was the bill that would include transgender persons in our Hate Crimes Act. And I know that there may be some controversy as to whether they're really transgender or not. I think science has already settled that argument, so people who want to engage in it, have at it. I won't participate. But these are people who, just because of their sexual identity, their gender identity, were being preyed upon, P-R-E-Y-E-D, preyed upon. So I was really proud of that. Another bill that I was able to get accomplished, and I think this is where the healthcare piece comes in, was a bill that would provide for patient safety, which allowed for hospitals to decide, or the staff, the nursing staff of the hospitals to decide the patient to nurse ratio. I was really proud of that. Really proud of a bill that I had last in 2017, a couple of bills that I had regarding energy, renewable energy and energy efficiency. Very glad that this time around I was also able to pass some legislation to get the new highway, Highway 11, designated as a Purple Heart Highway. We didn't have that in Nevada, and I thought it was really important because we have about 300,000 veterans here in Nevada, 300,000 plus veterans. And I thought it was very important so that people don't take our freedom for granted. We sing, we're land of the free and home of the brave. Well, the only reason we are the land of the free is because of the brave, people who actually decided to serve. And also, we were able to pass a bill this time that would help those who have been molested, sexually assaulted, sexually harassed in the military. I believe it's one of the strongest pieces of legislation in the country, because you don't have to be a Nevadan if it happened to you while you were in Nevada. If you are a resident of Nevada and you are deployed somewhere else and this happened to you, you are eligible to receive resources that will support your healing. Military sexual trauma is one of those things that is usually never talked about. The victims are predominantly women, but there are some men. But when this has happened, there have been people who have reported the harassment, the assault, and because they reported it, and usually it's someone who's in power and has oversight of their career. When they report it, then they're the ones that are kicked out. So we have a lot of women here in Nevada who were not able to retire simply because they reported sexual harassment. So Senate Bill 225 that was co-sponsored by one of my colleagues, and Joyce Woodhouse, fabulous senator and public servant of the people. And unfortunately, she's retiring after this session. But we were really able to get that done. We're still working on some pieces of legislation that will strengthen our posture with respect to helping people who have substance abuse. We're still looking at ways that we can reduce the rate of suicide. Also had a bill last time, Senate Bill 204, that was brought to me by my youth legislator, and he told the story of how in 2018 he had written a letter, and it was going to be the last communication he had with his family, because after he wrote the letter, he took some pills. Fortunately, his mom found him. But he told the story of being so overcome by all of the pressures, just the pressures. And I think that's something that a lot of times we don't take into consideration, that our young people are facing pressures that many of us never even faced until we were in our mid-30s or 40s, and not knowing where to go, who to turn to. And so that legislation actually requires all schools, public and private, to develop what we call a crisis response plan. And that is to make sure that we have information out and available to all of the students where you can get help, how you can get help, and to make sure that if you're suffering from some type of emotional or mental trauma, there's no shame in that game. Get help. Get help, because all of us at one time or another have been at a place where we needed somebody to recognize our humanity and recognize that we were worth saving, and they helped us to be saved.
Absolutely. It's amazing all the things you just hit on, right? You're talking about mental health, substance abuse, sexual harassment, discrimination, our veterans. When we talk to people and leaders in the community, these are all the types of things where people are saying, more help is needed. Mm-hmm. And to know that somebody who in your position is not only working on these issues, but showing leadership and pushing through, and able to pass legislation that's already started making a very big impact on our community, it's really amazing to see your passion. What fuels that passion?
What fuels my passion, and I always say to people, turn your pain into power. And you turn that into power by using your passion. I have always lived as a, quote, minority. I'm a woman. I'm African American. I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. I am a minister. All of those things, if you look at those, and a veteran, if you look at those in totality, there are several of those that seem incompatible. So in every area of my life, I've always had to fight for something. And it's that fight that always caused me to look around and see who else is fighting for this. And how can I use my voice? How can I use my position to help them? So for me, it really is about making sure that everybody understands all of God's children are created equal, period. There's no discussion. There's no debate. Equality is something that our Creator has already put in place. It's just a matter now of us recognizing that, and recognizing that all of these superfluous things that we want to put in people's ethnicity, where do you live, what country do you come from, what's your language, and all those sorts of things. All of those things don't even matter to God. They don't, because I don't think that we serve a God that speaks English only. So why are we looking at people who speak Spanish differently? Why are we looking at people who speak German? Why are we looking at people who speak French? Why are we looking at them? I don't think that God has a zip code in the United States. So why are we treating people who are coming to this country differently? Why are we treating other countries differently? Because they don't have a zip code in this country. So those are the kinds of things that drive it. It's about equality and making sure that if my life is improving, but someone else's life is not improving, then I still have work to do. I still have work to do. One of the things that also fuels my passion is the fact that in my seminary training, I was able to do a lot of digging in terms of Hebrew and Greek. And when you dig into those words and you really understand the words that are in the Hebrew text, which we also call the Old Testament, and then the words of Jesus that are in the New Testament, a lot of what Jesus was asking us to do during that time was revolutionary. A lot of people think that he was killed for religious reasons. He wasn't. He was a martyr for political reasons. So those are some of the things that fuel my passion. And I don't believe that I can call myself a Christian. And Christianity is not the only religion that we should respect. I respect all religions, but my faith is rooted in Christianity. If we really want to call ourselves Christians, then we have to look at what Jesus has said to do. And every place he went, he was always reaching out to those who were marginalized, to the leper who started coming towards him, and his disciples said, wait, you can't come because you'll be unclean. And he told them, said, come on. To the woman who was caught in adultery, and everybody said she was caught, in adultery. And Jesus probably thought like I did. So why were y'all watching? Did anybody have a cell phone, or was anybody taking a picture or something like that? And she wasn't the only one. Okay, so where's the guy? And Jesus simply said, the one without fault cast the first stone. So my passion is really rooted in me fighting for equality out of all of the persons or all of the places that I occupy in terms of my personality. And it is a part of my faith that is inextricably co-located with the work that I do.
Just sitting across from you, I could feel the passion, and it's very motivating. Some of our listeners in the audience, I'm sure, are getting motivated in terms of they may feel a calling for public service. Mm-hmm. Maybe something they've thought about for a while and wanted to get interested in doing, but thought, I don't even know how to get started. What kind of advice would you give to some of our listeners who may be interested in getting involved in public service and being able to put some of their passion to work like you do?
I would say, where's the fire in your belly? What do you want to do that even if you didn't get paid any money, you would do anyway? What is that passion? You have some people who have been victims of domestic violence, and they get involved in places like Shade Tree. You have people who are recovering addicts, and they get involved in substance abuse programs. You have people, wherever the fire is in your belly, then take that fire, take that passion, and look around your community and see where the gaps are. Because wherever you see the gaps, as my grandmother used to say, you're supposed to fix that or help somebody else fix that. So get involved. You can get involved. You don't always have to just get involved with the state legislature. We have city council, there's school board, there's county commission. So at any level of government, you can get involved. But take the fire that's in your belly and use that as a passion to make sure that we get things done. We have a dearth, if you will, of people who are jumping into the fray and fighting for equality. So what we need are more people who will jump into the fray and fight for equality. I'm reminded of a phrase that Vernon John, who was the predecessor of Martin Luther King, used to say. He said, if you see a good fight, get in it. And so if you are looking at becoming a public servant, and it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's really about what can I do to make this world a better place? What can I do to repair the breach?
Absolutely. And if some folks may not be interested in serving, but they're interested in getting involved with a leader like yourself who leads with both her heart and her head and fights for the people. People are looking to get involved and help support you or volunteer for your efforts. What's a good way for them to get involved?
They can go to our website, and it's currently under reconstruction, but we do have a landing page there, spearmanfornevada.com. They can go there, and there's a place where they can sign up and look. Within the next week or so, we should have our website fully revamped for our next session, for our next term. So spearmanfornevada.com. Go there, and if you can't remember that, Google me. Most of my life is already on the internet. Some of it is not true, and I will tell you that, and some of it is. But the essence of who I am, this is what I want to be remembered when I am no longer on this earth. I want to be remembered as the person who saw inequity and fought to bring equality. I want to be the person that I want them to say, this was the person who never shrunk from a fight to help someone else, help lift someone else. If I have arrived, I don't want to be there by myself. I want to be the person who's always reaching back. And I want them to say of me, I fought for what I believed in to the very end. And it didn't matter about what someone else's position was. It didn't matter what someone else's title was. If you are wrong, you are wrong. And make no mistake about it, if you are wrong and I have an opportunity to communicate with you, I will let you know that. I will let you know that.
Well, I think that directness, makes you extremely effective up in Carson City.
Thank you.
I know that, when you know something to be true, when you feel something to be true, you'll advocate till the end. And if folks in your district or folks throughout our community need your help and assistance, I would strongly encourage them to reach out, because they have a public servant and a warrior in their corner.
Thank you. Can I say one more thing,
sure.
too? Because I want to touch on this. As a veteran, there were things that I was willing to lay down my life for. And I have friends who did lay down their lives for, pay the ultimate sacrifice. We have a democracy that is worth fighting for. We have a democracy that is worth saving. And the oath of office that I took when I was commissioned was, I will support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so the democracy that has lasted the last 200 plus years, this is the democracy that is worth fighting for. This is not about party. This is not about who is in and who is out. This is about our democracy. And so people who want to get involved understand the principles of democracy. Are we perfect? No. But as President Obama said, we are working on a more perfected union. So we're not perfect. But when you look around at some of the other places, that in the world where they're living under a dictator, this democracy is worth fighting for. And fight for it, I will, until my very last breath.
Wow. I am so motivated to get out there. Your leadership, your passion, your experience, you just spoke about military. One of the other things is you're a minister. What was your calling that brought you into the church in a leadership capacity? If you can maybe talk a little bit to our audience about that.
So I preached my first sermon when I was 6 years old. I could read the Bible before I could read phonics. And in 1962, someone came to interview me while we were in Nashville, Tennessee, and they really didn't believe. So they had the Bible, and they had one of these see Dick run, see Jane hit the ball, and that sort of thing. And I struggled through that. But they turned to something in the Old Testament, and all of those names, the ites, the Hittites and all those ites, I could read that perfectly. But there was something inside of me that really pushed me into ministry, spoken ministry, but my ministry has not only been from the pulpit, my ministry has also been in the community. And as I said before, it is that commitment to the fundamental beliefs of my faith, which is not better than anyone else's faith. And I want to make that clear, because there's some people who demonize other faiths. No, God can be called by many names. And those names that God is called by, God will answer to. I don't believe that God wants us to fight against someone because they don't necessarily take our same view about faith. I think what we have to do is use that faith to fuel the passions, to repair the breach in the world. So what really motivated me, once I got into ministry, I wanted to get into ministry because I really felt called to do that. And at 6 years old, as a little girl, and girl is the key there because I was in ministry before it was accepted that God would call women. I was in ministry before people really thought that God would talk to women and God would talk through women. So what really fueled me as I grew up and stayed in ministry is the fact that there were still people who were subscribing to the draconian notion that God only preferred one gender. And as I said before, God is genderless. God is infinite. We have decided to put God in these boxes, the box that contains, this is who you call God. We have decided to put God in boxes. This is the color of God. We've put God into boxes. This is the ethnicity of God. We have put God in boxes. These are the people who God loves, and these are the people. God is not like that. God is not like that. And I'm reminded of a movie several years ago. George Burns played in Oh God. And I don't know how many of your viewers remember that, but in it, the person, I think it was Glenn Campbell, he said, so all of these things that are going on, why don't you fix them? Why haven't you done something? And the character, George Burns, said, I have. I'm talking to you, and I need you to talk to others and talk to others. I've already put into the earth the things that will fix it. And if we go back to Genesis 1, and I believe it's the 31st verse, at the very end of the chapter, you'll see where God said, and everything that was made was good. God didn't say, oh my goodness, I got to go back and fix that. Everything that was made was good. I believe that we have the seed of potential to do good, and used in the wrong way, we can also do very bad by our human brothers and sisters. What does that mean? It was the Industrial Revolution that taught us how to make life easier. But there's so many other revolutions that start with hatred and with greed and start with superiority, if you will, and inferiority that make our lives bad. The seed that God has put in us, and I believe that is that part of our divine design that is inextricably located inside of us. We also have the power of free will. And so we decide whether we will use that for good or for evil. And the choice is really up to us. And so to fix the world, we've got to decide and commit to using that part of our divine design to repair the world.
That was a very wonderful message to all of us, especially on a Sunday. Senator, it's been wonderful to have you as a guest on our show.
Glad to be here.
I think our audience has really gotten a sense of leadership in its purest form. You're a leader in the Senate in high-level leadership positions, both as chair and co-majority whip. Also in your religion, as a pastor, as a retired veteran and retired officer in the Army. As a person who places high values in education, both in your work as a civil servant, as well as your work in your own academic career, obtaining a doctoral degree and multiple other high-level graduate-level degrees. You radiate leadership. The most important thing is we started with your resume and your bio and your background. One of the most amazing things about you is that you don't just talk the talk. You walk the walk, and you walk strong, you walk tall, and you do it for people who often don't have a voice. You do it for our veterans. You do it for our LGBTQ community. You do it for people who are victims of sexual assault, victims of human trafficking, domestic violence. You do it for folks who are suffering from healthcare issues such as substance abuse, mental health issues, chronic disease. So I really want to thank you for how much you put your heart, your soul, your time into our community every day, and you really do make our wonderful, beautiful state a better and better place, a more perfect version every day that you provide your leadership and you bring our community together.
Thank you.
So it's an honor to have you, and I hope I can have you back on the show again soon.
Please do. And my parting words for your audience would be this: whatever your passion is and wherever that breach is, take your passion to that breach and use that power. It is my great honor to serve the people of Nevada and I can do no less than serve.
Wonderful. I wanted to thank our sponsor, True Care Treatment Centers. They have a 24/7 hotline for if you or a loved one have a substance abuse or mental health issue or need services. They can help you at 1-833-203-2848. That's 1-833-203-2848. Have a wonderful Sunday, everybody. Enjoy your family.
This has been Health Care Sunday on 104.7 KJUL, sponsored by True Care Treatment Centers.